Could Ferrari finally be catching up to Red Bull? Well, I'm sure the optimistic Ferrari fans among us would like to say yes, but we'll dive into whether Carlos Sainz's win at the Australian Grand Prix is a sign of more success to come for the Scuderia, or if it was just an off week for Max and Red Bull. But the Australian Grand Prix, as always, provided us with some exciting and controversial moments, and one of which, as a Fernando Alonso fan, I've kind of got to talk about, which is the penalty that was given to him for brake checking George Russell. Now, it's not uncommon to see F1 drivers try and back each other up a little bit, especially through corners. It's a great way to defend and keep your opponent on their toes. And Alonso would do exactly this to George Russell during the closing lap of the Grand Prix in order to fight for P6. Russell, however, he didn't make contact with Alonso or anything like that. He just kind of sent it a bit too hard into the corner and then completely lost it into the wall. Sorry, my bad. The wall turned in on him. But anyway, Fernando ended up receiving a 20-second time penalty for this after the race, with the FIA saying he broke earlier in the corner than normal. To which Fernando went, well, yeah, but in 20 years of F1, that's never been something that's punished. That's fine. Then again, we know the FIA is about as consistent as Logan Sargent finishing a race, which was something else he wasn't able to do this weekend. Not actually due to any fault of his own, but because Williams simply didn't give him a car. Albon crashed, they didn't have a spare chassis, and they said to Logan, "Oi, get out." Albon's doing the race instead. All that for Albon to not even score a point despite 3 DNFs. Rumor has it that for next weekend, Logan Sargent is giving his appendix to Carlos Sainz. But let's talk about Smooth Operator himself. It was a great race for him, obviously. Coming back just 2 weeks after having an appendix surgery, he was an absolute monster to not just qualify in P2, but overtake Max and then obviously go on to dominantly lead the race. And every Ferrari fan was cheering for a 1-2 finish, something that we haven't seen since 2022. But part of me is curious about one thing. I kind of wanted to know what would happen if Max stayed in the race. Like, I think Ferrari genuinely had some really good pace there. With Sergio Perez, and I know we can flame him for being a bit inconsistent and slower than Max, but he's still a top-level driver. He said that he doesn't think Max Verstappen would have won that race had he not had the brake issues. Now, you can, and I wouldn't put it out of the question, just say that this is Perez saying, oh no, it wasn't me being slow that I finished 5th, it was a car issue. But at the same time, we did expect the grid to be closer this year, and we may finally be starting to see that. You've got to remember in F1, oftentimes cars suit different tracks, and just because Red Bull was quick the past 2 weeks doesn't mean Ferrari have found a good setup window for tracks like Australia. Then again, last time Max Verstappen lost before the Japanese Grand Prix, he went on to show everyone why we should never doubt him. So we may be having another dominant display. If that does happen, just be prepared to see me slam my head into the wall after seeing a 30-second gap to the lead again. Lando Norris this weekend was actually very close to the lead of the race. He still wasn't able to pick up that maiden win, but he did almost everything he could to put himself in the best position to do so. And I know the Australian fans were booing when Piastri had to let him pass, but at the end of the day, that was the right decision for McLaren. Lando was on better tires and had more pace. Not to discredit Oscar, he also did an amazing job that race, and he's been driving at a top level. And it's actually really interesting to see that McLaren seem to have jumped Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, with that Mercedes then really struggling to find a good balance in the car. And Ferrari are sitting comfortably as the second best, and we'll see how close they actually are to Red Bull next week. It'll be really good if this trend of people actually fighting for the win can continue, and battles between Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, and Lando will be really interesting to watch. However, I do have a feeling that Max Verstappen is not going to let us enjoy a Ferrari win for too long. So let me know your thoughts for Japan and subscribe if you want more F1 content. Thank you for watching, and goodbye!